Dear friends in Jesus Christ, most of us hit a crisis at one time or another in our lives. A relationship with someone may bring a lot of struggles and pain. Our health or the health of someone we love may take a turn for the worst. We may suddenly experience a significant loss, whether the loss of a job or the loss of our independence or the loss of a loved one. Such times of crisis may bring home to us what it is that really matters and what it is not so important. We can, we can come to value in a new way what we are inclined to take for granted and come to take less seriously what we once gave a lot of time and attention. A personal crisis of one kind or another teaches that what really matters to us are the people in our lives. A crisis often brings home to us our dependence on others, how much we need them, how much they matter to us. The things in our life become less important. The people in our life become more important to us. In the parable that Jesus speaks in today's gospel, a steward suddenly finds himself in a crisis situation when his employer, the rich owner of the estate, calls him up and gives him his notice because he had been wasteful with his employer's property. Perhaps he was guilty of the ancient equivalent of putting his hand into the deal. In this crisis situation in which he suddenly found himself, he took a strong decisive action. This action he took was with a view to gaining friends, building up a bank of goodwill, so that when the day came when he had to leave his job, there would be people out there who would welcome him into their homes. Whatever might be thought about the morality of what he did in significantly reducing people's debt to his master, his crisis brought home to him the importance of people in his life. He knew that when the storm broke, he would need other people around him. And rather late in the day, he set about ensuring that such people would be there when he needed them. The steward in this parable is not much of a hero, just as the younger son in last Sunday's parable was not much of a hero either. Yet Jesus was prepared to tell stories about very flawed people who nonetheless had something to teach us. In the parable of today's gospel, even the steward's employer has to grudgingly acknowledge the steward's act. Just as the steward's world was about to collapse, he finally got his priorities right. He used money while he still had control of it to win him friends, recognizing that friends are more valuable commodity than money, and that people are much greater treasure than all the material possessions in the world. One of the morals Jesus draws from the parable that he tells is use money tainted as is to win your friends, and thus make sure that when it fails you, they will welcome you into the tent of eternity. We all gather an enormous amount of stuff as we go through life. Anyone who has had to move house knows that only too well. Sooner or later, we have to let it go all. We can't take it with us as we live this life. In that sense, in the words of Jesus in the Gospel, our material possessions fail us, they do not endure. However, the relationship that we form in life do endure. St. Paul, in his great hymn to love, in his first letter to the Corinthians, says that love never ends. Authentic love endures beyond the grave into eternity. Jesus speaks about the friends we make in this life, welcoming us into the tents of eternity. When there was more money around than here today, people spoke a lot about the importance of investments. Those with money to spare often wonder how best to invest it so as to get the greatest return on it. The gospel today, and indeed the whole of Jesus' life and ministry, suggests that our first investment should be in people. We are to invest ourselves in others. We are to use whatever resources we have in the service of others, whether that may be material resources or personal resources of time, energy, training, or talents. Jesus is a supreme example of someone who invested his life in others. He lived and died for others, for all of us. Yes, dear friends in Jesus Christ, in today's parable, a crisis movement brought home to the steward that his true wealth consisted not in accumulating goods for himself, but in establishing relationship within the community. It can take a crisis in our own lives to bring home to us that our true wealth lies in the loving relationship that we have formed with others, with our own family, with our own friends, and with those who cross our path in life, many of whom may live far from us and in very difficult circumstances to our own.